we would like to do as much as we can together with the Bar Council, engage with the Bar Council to say where our rules do not allow us to do certain things, we will engage with them to make sure that we enhance their efforts if they are not sufficient, to make sure that we assist where we can together with attorneys that are available, because we get briefed by attorneys or organizations like Sisino Mfundo's organization. The caller is right. Those are all of the things that we seek to find a way to deal with. And we don't have all the answers, and probably not everything we do will address all of these problems. But I think if everyone and all of us, wherever we are, try to do a bit in that regard, I think we will go some way in making sure that justice is available to all. And Xolani, if I may respond, I think Mike either did not hear me or misunderstood me. When I responded to you, I didn't accuse anyone of racism or a judge or a court. When you asked me about the question of race, I said to you that all professions in South Africa, the legal profession in particular, they are part of the South African society, and they have all the hallmarks of this society. And if Mike lives where racism no longer exists, that is fine. But I think many people will tell you that where they live, they still experience it, both black and white. I didn't suggest that only white people are racist or only black people are racist. I just think the issue of justice should be applied without reference to one's color or race.
All right.
Xolani, if I may, please, one of your callers actually raised the issue of mediation and alternatives in terms of the African culture.
Yeah, Hugh.
Just to comment as well that there is a bill which is called the Traditional Courts Bill that is currently under discussion, and it seeks to actually introduce traditional courts within the rural areas. My objection only with the current bill is that the way it's set up, it doesn't necessarily look to the culture and custom that it seeks to apply in order for these courts to be effective. But otherwise, I think that maybe the traditional courts in the rural communities could perhaps play a role in trying to create the environment for access to justice. But that the important thing is how are the courts created, and that they have to be in line with the Constitution, even as they are created.
Just talking about the bills here, Advocate Sikhakhane, there's this question again that's come up about the legal practice bill. You probably have something that you want to say about it?
Well, Xolani, I don't know where the process is. This legal practice bill has been in the pipeline for many years, probably for as long as I've practiced law. I do not know where it is at the moment, but I'm told that it seeks to regulate just how lawyers work and how they operate, and it deals with those things. I don't think it specifically deals with issues of access to justice. It's about regulating the legal practitioners and then their accountability.
All right, a couple of SMSs as well. Maybe we'll take one or two more calls on 0891 104 208, 0891 104 208. There's somebody who says here, what do you do if you fail the means test by a few rands? I'm not sure if there's an answer for us there, Sisino Mfundo, about what people who fail the means test then are supposed to do. That's from Bridget.
I think, Xolani, what happens is that very often you don't even, for example, in the Legal Resource Center, the issue is about the type of matter that is presented before you. And if it's a case that will have an impact throughout the country, you tend to sometimes put aside the means test and look at the greater impact in changing specifics. And so you don't look at that, and you actually look at the issue. And therefore you then approach your EXCO with the view that this case will have an impact over 1,000 or 1 million people, and therefore then you negotiate the means test.
Okay. All right, let me take one or two more calls. Castro in Davidson. Good morning to you, Castro.
I want to go back to my case. There was one case, Kolani, where a white detective inspector investigated my case. That person claimed that he was a victim. I attempted to kill him.
Yeah.
And that person was allowed to investigate his own case, and I was found guilty and sentenced to imprisonment. I took the case through the appeal. I was assisted by legal resources at some stage. There was one attorney called Willow. I can't remember Willow something. Maybe Nofundo will know her better. Miriam Willow something. It's a long time ago.
Oh.
So I'm just saying these things. It's all, even the comment of the first appeal judge in Pretoria. Those comments, Kolan, were not warranted. Unfortunately, I was alone in that court. I didn't ask my family to come, and it's still painful when I hear some people like Anelum saying that these things are not racial. They are racial because of when you talk about the interest of the community. It works when it's it's a black person or colored or Indian, but when it's a white person against black, it's not working. The interest of you find people doing outside in majority saying that this man must go to prison, but that person will get just a slap on the face, So those are the things that we are talking about. The judicial need to be transformed, and it's a high time that when we debate these things, we face them head on, because we can't go anywhere.
All right, Castro. Let me ask again, Mrs. Nomfundo, to respond to Castro.
I think that, Kolani, when you talk about access to justice, you talk about the whole package. You talk about before you go to court and when you're in court, and when the sentence or the decision is ultimately given. But I strongly believe that the justices that we have are honorable people who apply the law and the facts of the case as presented before them, and that the decisions that they make are based on the facts. And sometimes, as a society, we only hear parts of the case and not the full case, and then we make or draw conclusions or inferences from only those parts of the case that we've heard. But perhaps if you sit in court and you hear the whole case with all of the evidence presented, then perhaps you begin to understand where the judge is coming from when they finally make that presentation or the final judgment. And remember, when that judgment is made, very often you've got both sides in court, and both sides have been given an opportunity to present their case.
All right. Mrs. Nomfundo, let me ask you to hold there, because we've had a call from President Zuma, who wants to comment on this issue. President, a very good morning to you. Thank you for calling us.
Hello, I'm President Gunjan. Not gone about.
You want to comment on this issue?
No, I want to comment as a citizen. As a citizen, it's just Jacob Zuma.
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Because firstly, I just wanted to say, Polani, I'm very happy this matter is being discussed by legal people in the main, and together with the citizens who are at the receiving end of these things. Because I agree with the person who said justice is a very expensive commodity for the poor people. I think it is correct. Justice is not, in a sense, treating everybody equally, because it depends whether you have the money, whether you don't. People could commit exactly the same crime. One would have no lawyer because that person has no resources. And definitely that person goes to court. I mean, he will go to jail. And the one who has the best lawyer would not go to jail. Now, in other words, how do the legal system look at facts? Not because facts are, in a sense, articulated by a lawyer. Even if I am articulate, if I stand in court and defend myself, if I'm not a lawyer, I'm likely not to succeed. I therefore I'm happy. The only comment really I wanted to make was that I'm happy the matter is discussed, because it affects citizens on a daily basis. if you go to prison, for an example, the biggest population that is there are of poor people. At times, people who could not be in jail if there was a legal representation. I'm just saying it should not just end as an issue that is being discussed in the program. The program should actually be introducing the issue to be discussed by society. How do we dispense justice to all citizens equally? How could we make it not to look like it favors the have and it does not favor the have-nots? At what point would poor people firstly access, because the access to justice is one of the critical things. Some commentators have been saying correctly, people who are away from the big centers know nothing about even the institutions that exist. And how do we make the legal system be a system that treats all citizens equally? I should feel as a poor person, if I'm wronged, I can go to court, I will get justice. Not that I will only get justice because I have a lawyer.
Yeah.
I should make that point because it is, I think, an important point, an important subject that we are discussing this morning. Thank you very much. I don't want to take much of the time of your listeners, but I'm commenting as Jacob Zuma,
we really
not necessarily as president.
We appreciate your call, Mr. President. I couldn't say Mr. Jacob Zuma. Mr. President, we really appreciate your call. Thank you very much. Advocate Skakana, I would like us to wrap up then on the back of what the President is saying here, supporting that this discussion must be held and be held authentically.
Xolani, it's important. You know, there are things in society like justice, education and safety which must never become luxuries of the privileged few. And Xolani, my last point really about what all of us should try to do is that law without justice can be an instrument of untold suffering. And therefore it's important because the apartheid was used law. And also we must be careful in post-apartheid South Africa that justice is never kept far from how we practice law, because if we do so, people will resent our system, and if they resent the system, that resentment will turn into contempt, and the day it turns into contempt, it will be the end of whatever attempts we've made to create a just, non-racial and non-sexist South Africa.
All right. Sis Nomfundo, just very briefly as we wrap up.
Thank you, Xolani. Mine is just to say that we've already had a conference in July dealing with access to justice, and I think that that's just the beginning. So the important thing is for us to continue to talk, educate, and make aware everybody of their rights so that they can begin to push for their rights. And if they're able to do so, then they will force that the courts and the environment in which they operate work in a better way.